Good morning, everyone. My name is David Backshall. I'm from a company called Clearsettle. We're a group of fintech companies. Clearsettle mainly focuses around payments, online payments processing. Company's been up and running for about 6 years. We mainly operate out of Europe. We've just recently launched in the US. And we've got some very interesting products that we're going to be launching in the next 6 months, one of them being a digital wallet as well. So one of the areas that we've been looking at is blockchain, and also working with a number of different industries, in particular remittances. And I think the presentation that Martin gave was really, really interesting. And I've learned a lot, actually, in this conference with all the speakers and speaking to people individually as well. So thank you very much for inviting me. But I think this particular topic here, everyone has an opinion. And what I want to do is I want to make this really interactive. And I want to create debate because I think everyone, we've got lots of experts that talk about blockchain and crypto and also payments as well. So I think everyone can ask me some questions afterwards as well. So that's a challenge. I want lots of hands. So, is blockchain the future of remittance payments? So when we look at adoption, we see that really consumers are driving this in many, many, many ways. So some of the brands you've seen on here have only been in existence, well, less than 10 years, but are multi-billion-dollar companies. And it's really consumers and customers are driving this adoption. When I started at PayPal 11 years ago, in Europe, people didn't really understand what wallets are. People didn't really use wallets and PayPal to pay and also send money as well. And we all know and we understand some of these companies and the way that they've grown across the globe. So adoption is really, really important. And we're actually seeing consumers drive new ways of payments today. Devices. I don't know about you, but I absolutely love my mobile phone. I love it. I have it with me every day. It's close to me all the time. And if it's not with me, I'm wondering where it is. And I think we've all got suffer from the same complex. So having the devices make it easy as consumers to drive these adoptions. So it really is power to the people. What about money remittance? What part does it play? Money remittances, as you can see from the figures up there, play a huge, huge, massive, important role. They actually save lives. If you think about it, I mean, I've heard many stories personally and read that people sending money to communities back in their home country pays for medical bills, pays for education, supports economies. So it's a really, really important method of how people send money across the world. But it's also an industry that has actually stayed still for a huge amount of time. People using cash, companies that are using systems that are really, really archaic. And I think actually there was someone in the room that used to work for Western Union. Can they raise their hand? So you'll understand this really well. So hopefully you'll ask me lots of questions afterwards as well and create some debate around this. But if you just look at the process and just look at this really closely, what Western Union does, the process works. The bank converts the local currency into dollars, transfers them to the account in the recipient's country, and then converts them again to the local currency. It's crazy. It's insane. Why? Because it's costly. It's a huge amount of money which is wasted. Huge. But also as well, the time it takes to do that could potentially be up to 10, 14 days. Insane. And the cost, you can see what the cost is, 7%. 7%. Someone's making a lot of money there. There are some companies out there, and I'll mention one of them, BitPesa, B-I-T-P-E-S-A, if you want to have a look at it. And what they do is they utilize blockchain to send crypto. And they do this very smart way in terms of taking the local currency and then just converting it once and then paying out. And a lot of countries, new frontier countries in Africa, for example, utilize this because it's cheap, it's quick, and it's efficient. And you can see in terms of the costs and the savings as well, what that means. Now, can you imagine if an extra 16 billion was driven into those local economies? It's huge because it means those local economies can grow, can develop, and create more business, create more jobs. So it's really, really important. So some of the questions that I've got and I want to throw out there, and I'd like to create some debate around this because I know there's a huge amount of opinions in the room, is just look at some of these questions. You know, is it a fear of using crypto? Are we scared? Is it safe? There's lots of questions around the security of it. And also, is it just for frontier markets? Is it just for markets like Nigeria, where you've got huge mass political instability or inflation in the economy? And are consumers informed enough about it to use it? So I'd just really like to kind of put that out there to you, and I'd really like some feedback. So has anyone got any opinions around this? Maybe let's ask the people from Western Union. Yeah, in terms of the questions on here. What's your thoughts around it?
Well, is Western Union is operating on cash to cash mainly, so they need to be cash in, cash out, nothing to do with crypto. I assume that workers don't have crypto in their pocket, don't have a stick in the pocket to actually transfer crypts. Blockchain, I think, is just IT infrastructure in this respect. And certainly what has been done in Africa on BitPesa, it's a closed ecosystem, which truly makes sense because all participants in the ecosystem, merchants, the system, the banks are actually pulling on one, how are you going to say, pulling on one in one direction. Yep. And consumers are certainly driving the adoption, that's true. But I have to say that the 7%, we have also to keep in mind the 7% doesn't go to Western Union. You have a sending and receiving agent, and I guess all of us here know what it means. And 80% of the 7% goes to the network, to the face-to-face contact with the customer on a cash-to-cash transaction.
Thank you. Good. Anyone else?
The first 2 points, I think, what my problem with, it's way too complicated for mass adoption for my grandmother, right, or my mother. She's now around SMS, right? That's her tech level. So I think, and because it's way too complicated, I would say it's not secure, right? Because a user, just think about the stupid emails you click, you get with viruses, right? You click them, and suddenly your PC is toast. The same happens actually with, and even, I think there was one guy from Bushi, right? They stole bitcoins from his wallet, right? And he's a pro. So I definitely think it's there's a problem for adoption for especially if you go to frontier markets like Africa, right? I mean, they jump to Android phones, which is not very secure but cheap.
So what do you think in terms about smart contracts, so using the blockchain technology in utilizing money remittance, money transfers? Do you think in terms of from a platform infrastructure, do you think it's the way forward in utilizing blockchain? But do you think in terms of utilizing blockchain from a smart contract perspective, we were able to use that as an everyday use?
Absolutely. There is nothing can beat 10-second settlement, right? Obviously, right? Nothing can beat 10-second settlement. Nothing can beat transparency, right? It's more like the education that we're struggling with, right? I'm running an ICO currently, and I have a lot of questions, and I really feel and I realize that I'm stretching them to the limit, to be honest. Yeah. And well, here we go. But definitely, it's the future, right? Finance will be rewritten because of blockchain, including remittance, not just remittance, the whole finance story.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else has opinions around utilizing blockchain for remittance and the security around it?
Thank you. There are zero-fee protocols evolving in crypto.
Yeah.
Are you using them, or have you considered using them, or what do you intend to use for remittance?
Well, a lot of remittance companies are just actually now starting to go from accepting cash through agents to actually utilizing online websites and to be able to do KYC for individuals to do that. So they're just starting to do that. How can they utilize a system like blockchain to actually speed up the process of transferring money cross-border and also reducing costs? Because we all know the traditional banking system is very complex, takes a long time, is expensive. So utilizing the blockchain technology, is that a step too far? I mean, it's being done today, but in terms of taking that more mainstream. Any other questions?
Okay, so the first idea maybe is that, for example, if we use crypto as an asset for the client, then we may face with an issue of devaluation of cryptocurrency. So it means that the client can face with a situation when he expects more money but get less money. So this is the one problem. That's why I think that blockchain itself can be used only for settlements purpose. In order, as you mentioned, to build up a system where you have real-time settlements, but only for the agents. Actually, it can be P2P money transfers.
Right. If there aren't any more questions...
Can I ask one more question?
Yes,
here?
of course, of course.
Because what Kirill just said, it kind of prompts other costs, right? Potentially insurance costs, potentially treasury costs, potentially any other costs. What do you think about those costs which are potentially hidden today? Because a migrant sending cash from A to B doesn't want to expect to get a single euro less what he is sending.
Certainly, and I think that it's a valid point, because obviously you've got fluctuation in terms of valuation, but certainly in terms of a lot of markets, especially frontier markets, utilization of sending crypto has been working extremely well. I think on the back of that, it's utilizing the blockchain technology, utilizing smart contracts to be able to facilitate that. Smart contracts, I think, lends itself not just to remittance, although we've seen it work extremely well, but it works very well in other areas such as insurance as well. So I think the adoption of blockchain is something that we'll see certainly more and more because of the efficiency of use. And I think in terms of the remittance industry utilizing crypto as a currency to be able to send that cross-border, we will see the rise of that, particularly in the new frontier markets. We'll also see probably the adoption of that more so in other traditional areas and corridors that we've seen as well. And I think that will also help to drive mainstream adoption for it also across other areas such as retail. So yeah, that's just my opinion. Thank you very much. Really appreciate you listening and the questions. I've learned a lot. And if you want to talk to me at all, there are my contact details. Please feel free to drop me an email. I'll be here for the rest of the day. Happy to talk to anyone. And thank you very much.